Hello folks, now that we have our new detailed view controller and we have an ability to navigate to it, it's time to set up some controls on this view controller so that we can do some adding and some editing. So the first control I'm going to add is a simple label. So I'm going to go down here and type label, and you want to make sure you use all the blue lines when you're placing items. The blue lines have to do with Apple's human guideline suggestions. So if you want your app to look really good on an iPhone, you want as much as possible to follow their suggested spacing. So I'm going to go up here with this label, and you'll see as I move around I get some blue lines. I want to go up here and put this label at the top left hand corner. I then want this label to take the entire space from margin to margin. Notice I dragged on the middle square instead of the bottom or top square, and that made sure that the label kept its width. The next thing I want to do is I want to center this label, and I want to double click it and change it to title. Now, the last step and the most important step is to make sure this label stays in a good position on multiple different devices. To do that, we use something called auto layout. So I'm going to use my control key, and I'm going to control key from the title and go up to the outer view. For there, I'm going to click vertical spacing. What that does is it puts in something called a constraint, so that no matter what, I'm always going to have an appropriate amount of spacing above the title. I also want some spacing on the left hand side, so I'm going to drag from my title using the control key over to the view, and I'm going to do leading space, and I'm going to do one more for the other side, and trailing space. Notice now everything is in blue lines. Blue means good. That means that I have completely constrained the title. It's locked to the top, it's locked to the left, and it's locked to the right. I don't have to constrain its height because the font will do that for us automatically. So let's do this one more time just to make sure we understand how this works. And next, I'll put in a text label. So let me put in a text label. Again, I'm going to use those blue lines to find my starting point. So notice I got a nice blue line right underneath the title. Again, I'm going to use that center dot to pull it over. Now, again, I want to put in my constraints, so I'm going to control click, and this time I'm going to do it to the title. You always do it to the closest item. So we're going to put in some vertical spacing, but it's still red, meaning we're not finished. We're going to go over here, and we're going to put it in the leading space. And we're going to go over here, and we're going to put in the trailing space. And now everything is blue, and I have a title, and I have my title text view. Okay, let's keep going. Next, I'm going to go back to the label. We're going to do label, and notice the label is not orange like I said because it is a control. So again, we're going to go nicely underneath here. We're going to use the center. We're going to center the text. We're going to call this details. And again, we're going to include some of our controls. So our first control is to the thing above us. Our second constraint is over here. And our third constraint is right over here. And again, we have everything nice and blue. Okay, let's keep going. This time the details is not a single text box, but it allows multiple lines. So that's called a text view. So let's go ahead and put in a text view. Again, we want to make sure we use our blue lines. And I want the text view to be approximately 6 lines of text. So there we go. We have about 6 lines of text, and I have everything all set up. Notice it puts in Latin so that you get a sense of what the text will look like later. Time for the constraints. So we have the details, vertical spacing. The left, we have leading spacing. The right, we have trailing spacing, but oops, something's wrong, it's still blue. Well, the reason is a text view can have a the height is not fixed. So even though we've constrained it, and like all the other ones, there's no constraint on how high this could be. So what we're going to do is a little bit of a trick. We're going to constrain it to itself. So I'm going to control click and drag down, and I can choose the height. So now I've constrained everything, and again everything's nice and blue. I no longer need this text, so I can take that out. Actually, let's leave the text in for now to help us out. You will notice there's no border around a text view. We're going to be doing the border by using code. Okay, so I've done about half of the layout of this view. That's good for this video. In the next video, I'll do the second half because I want to keep the video somewhat short. So, in this video, we learned how to place controls, how to size controls, and how to constrain controls. So we'll continue that in the next video. See you then.